I'm sorry, this is taking a bit longer. We couldn't set up this recording automatically because we need to gather all the consents from the participants. But hopefully now it's going to work. All right, so it is working. So now again, I give word to our dear coordinator, Slavica Babamova.
Thank you, Dragana. I will not be long. I will just want to welcome all of you to the first realization of the work package in this project, which we were working very hard on. I will not be long. I hope this will be useful and fruitful collaboration for proceed with the program. According to the program, we now have the short presentation. Let other participants in the coordination team start the presentation.
Thank you very much, Slavica. This introductory session will contain, as Slavica said, a short introduction into what Prometheus project is about, and which will be given by my colleague Elena Dukeska. And I will present the contents of the workshop and explain something a little bit about how things will function during this week. So I will now share my screen with you. Just let me. Thank you so much for being patient. So here it is. Elena, would you like to start?
Yes, thank you, Dragana. It is my duty, of course, and honor, and I'm delighted for the opportunity to say a few words about our project. It is a small-scale cooperation project co-funded by the European Union and the Ministries of Culture of North Macedonia and Serbia, and of course our partnering institutions. The funding comes from the European Union program Creative Europe Culture Strand. It's a 2-year project. We started a few months ago on the 1st of January this year, and the project will end by the end of December 2025. The partners in our project come from 3 countries. Could we move to the next slide, Dragana?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course. So the partners to our project are, apart from the Archaeological Museum of the Republic of North Macedonia, which is the project coordinator, Sofia University St. Clement Ohridski from Bulgaria, and our colleagues which participate in the project come from the Faculty of Classical and New Philologies. Then the Institute for Balkan Studies, Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts. Then the University of Belgrade, Faculty of Philosophy. And finally, my institution, St. Cyril and Methodius University in Skopje, Faculty of Philosophy. Briefly, our project is about trying to bring together the existing successful practices of digital epigraphy and the use of epigraphy for education in order to create a digital collection of inscriptions from the regions of North Macedonia, Serbia, and Bulgaria. which will be accompanied with other digital resources that will serve as a tool for active engagement of the audience in appreciating the stories of the epigraphic monuments and the universal values they share. Why do we want to do this? Because we all know that epigraphic monuments are an important part of the cultural heritage, and we know that they can teach us a lot about all aspects of human civilization, and of course the universal human values. In the last decades, epigraphy has significantly evolved as a digital domain. And the Southeastern European and Balkan countries have a significant epigraphic heritage, but nevertheless, the digital epigraphy resources in our countries are still underdeveloped, and although museums are in constant need of new models for audience development, they still hesitate somehow to take full advantage of the written content of the inscriptions for this paper. That's what for this purpose. That's why we started this initiative. And in order to achieve our aim, could we go to the next slide, please? We will, in our project, we will in generally be focused on building up the capacities of the institutions in our countries, increasing the access to cultural heritage for diverse categories of audience, and enhancing the transnational cooperation. Certainly, in the first place, we want to build up the capacities to develop and create digital epigraphic corpora and engage the audience in a way in which everyone will be able to recognize the human values as a link between the past, the present, and future. And of course, as a link that connects people regardless of sex, race, religion, language, nationality. Then it is important to build up the capacities to present our local epigraphic monuments and our cultural heritage from classical antiquity in a way in which everyone will be able to recognize it as a part of the common European cultural space. Of course, we also want to enable free exchange of experience, of good practices and knowledge in the area of digital epigraphy, but also more general in epigraphic heritage representation and dissemination. We want to strengthen our capacities for cooperation and to organize our capacities to organize events and activities in which students are involved and will have opportunity to use their digital skills to appreciate the cultural heritage, learn, and also develop their ability to analyze issues related to diversity, inclusion, gender equality, environment, and etc. Various contemporary issues from a diachronic perspective and from the perspective of the universal human values. The next slide, please. Target groups and audiences of our project are actually very inclusive. Of course, we want to address the scholars. We want to provide opportunities for cooperation and exchange of experience and knowledge for the GLAM professionals. We want to reach teachers and educators and school and university students and provide them with tools for broadening their education opportunities and appreciating cultural heritage, and of course the development of heritage education. And of course, most importantly, we want to reach the general public and make ancient inscriptions written in ancient Greek and Latin more accessible to the general public. Next slide, please. Just briefly, we don't need to go into too much detail into this, but of course it is good to know that our project is organized in 5 working packages. And apart from this workshop, which is part of the second work package, capacity building, we also plan other activities, which will be opportunity for the wider audience and the professionals to participate. That is, we plan a symposium next year within this package, networking and knowledge sharing. We plan some lectures. Of course, the main work, the collection of epigraphic monuments that we will create during this project will be available for everyone. We plan also another capacity building workshop next year, and within our communication and dissemination activities, there will be a variety of events which will be announced and developed during the project. That would be all for me. So now, Dragana, please, if you would like to tell us more about the workshop.
Thank you so much, Elena. Now I will just quickly go through the program, as I believe that you all seen, but it would be good to just go through the key elements. So, as Elena said, this workshop is being organized within the work package 2, capacity building, and it is our first event. The second key event will be next year in Skopje, in spring or summer to 2025, and it will be more focused on representation and dissemination of epigraphic heritage, so a slightly more wide topic than this, which is primarily the training workshop. And also we will have satellite events that we will periodically organize, probably online. And the next one we can already announce because there was a big interest in storytelling, which is one of the interesting and novel components of our project. So we will organize another event that will take place online about digital storytelling, and it's linked to the epigraphy and something about the ways in which storytelling as a method can help promote digital epigraphy to the general public. So for further details, just stay tuned and you can follow our social network accounts, and we will shortly give you some more details about upcoming events. Regarding this workshop, as you have seen, it will be organized in morning sessions and afternoon sessions with a lunch break between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. So I will just go quickly through the documents. You have received the Google document with the links to Zoom meetings and of course YouTube live streaming links. So if there are any changes during the course of the workshop, it will all be reflected in these documents that you have received. You just have to follow the links that we've sent before. This is also a workshop program. If any changes occur, we will update the document that you already have. This session that we are currently following is introductory session, and you have already heard the first two presentations, the first presentation, and later on I will introduce digital epigraphy as a discipline, sort of a historical overview, and give a word to my colleague Dimitri Liev. And the real EpiDoc training will begin, and it will be a great. We will be in depth to our trainers, Dimitri Liev, Elina Boeva, and Christian Simeonov. So after the introduction to markup and after the lunch break, you will have your first hands-on session in encoding. This will be this afternoon, an EpiDoc hands-on session. Tomorrow morning, there will be another training session in EpiDoc. You will learn how to encode metadata, and you will learn something about control vocabularies. After the lunch break, we will have a session that we've named Working with Digital Tools, which is a widely applicable session that you don't need any knowledge of Greek or Latin. Anyone interested in these things can follow. And it will be given by our colleague Anđelka Zečević from Mathematical Institute of the Serbian Academy of Sciences and Arts. And after that, another hands-on session in encoding text in EpiDoc. So this is day 2. Day 3 on Wednesday, you will learn about authoritative files and linking to external and internal authorities. I will not go to details. You will have the opportunity to learn all these things from our trainers. On the afternoon session, there will be I'm missing a slide. So on Thursday, we will have EpiDoc and Working with Digital Tools sessions, because it will be dedicated to working with front end, and 2 of very important front end platforms will be introduced to you, FS and Ajax tool developed by University of Sofia, and the theme of our trainers. And afterwards, we will hear from our colleague Nenad Jončić from National Museum of Serbia, who will teach about 3D imaging, photogrammetry, and how it can be applied to ancient epigraphy. And afterwards, we will have a hands-on session on how to use Ajax. On Friday morning session, we'll have Working with Digital Tools sessions and lecture about copyrights and open licensing, a topic that is very relevant and relates greatly to digital epigraphy. And it will be given by Milica Šefčušić from the Institute of Technical Sciences of Serbian Academy. And afterwards, you will be trained in how to use Zotero, Zenodo, and other repositories in digital projects. And afterwards, in the afternoon, we will finish with presentations of epigraphical projects by our participants, Institute for Balkan Studies and University of Sofia, and ending the trainings and the whole event with EpiDoc hands-on sessions, when you will hopefully visualize the material that you have encoded during this workshop. So this will be it from this presentation. I just would like to note once again that you, during the whole workshop, please do look at the materials that you probably already seen everything, but everything that we can add during the workshop, or regarding materials or useful links, it will be all updated in this document called Materials for the Training Workshop. And it will be also updated after the workshop, so that you can use the document even after the training has finished, as a reference for everything that you've learned. So this is it from this presentation. I would not take much of your time, because now I have to give the word to myself again and begin the presentation on. Just let me see how to stop this. Okay, so the next presentation will be about introduction to digital epigraphy. I have to share this once again. Sorry. Bear with me for 1 second, please. Oh, yes. Okay. So, by definition, epigraphy is a study of inscriptions engraved or painted on durable materials such as stone, metal, or ceramics. As you can see here, it comes from epigraphy, or in Latin, inscription means something that's inscribed. As inscribed objects, the inscriptions unite spheres of tangible and intangible culture, and they represent a precious legacy and direct link with the past. So Greek and Latin epigraphy belong to the classics and share common ground with the cognate disciplines such as papyrology, codicology, paleography, and one of its most notable characteristics is interdisciplinarity, as the epigraphy involves a range of methods from different disciplines, including textual philology, text criticism, history, archaeology, and art history, with the aim to decipher and contextualize inscriptions as invaluable sources of historical and cultural knowledge. The origins of Greek and Latin epigraphy are tied to the early efforts of August Beck and Theodor Mommsen, Wilamowitz von Mollendorf, and others, namely the monumental projects such as Corpus Inscriptionum Graecarum, Inscriptiones Graecae, Corpus Inscriptionum Latinarum, that was founded in 1853. That aimed to systematically collect and publish all Greek and Latin inscriptions. And these were supplemented by annual publications such as Lane Epigraphic and Supplementum Epigraphicum Graecum. And these were followed by a range of different regional or thematic corpora. The emergence of digital epigraphy can be traced to the moment when classicists first embraced the transformative power of computers, particularly the revolutionary concept of search. The use of computers eventually led to initial efforts to digitize texts. As early milestone in this progression was the release of Thesaurus Linguae Graecae compact disc in 1995, which notably incorporated epigraphic content, marking a significant early step in this direction. The advancement in internet technology facilitated the progress of digital epigraphy. Notable projects emerged, such as Epigraphische Datenbank Heidelberg, founded by Geza Alfeldi in 1986, and the project lasted until 2021. Together with Epigraphic Database Rome, that was developed by University of Rome, La Sapienza, and Database Bar in Hispania Epigraphica, they established the association EAGLE, the International Federation of Epigraphic Databases, that has significantly influenced further advancement in digital epigraphy. There are also other long-standing databases that are out of this framework, and those include the database of Packard Humanities Institute, as well as Klaus Laby database. However, unlike the Epigraphische Datenbank Heidelberg and EDR, these do not offer sufficient level of details about the inscriptions. They're equipped only with just basic metadata such as bibliographic data and provenance. This is another slightly more complete database that's focused on photographic material, albeit Lupa, which also belonged to the later to the Eagle Association. A game-changing role in the course of digital epigraphy belongs to EPIDOC. It is an international collaborative effort to provide guidelines and tools for encoding scholarly and educational editions of the ancient documents. So as the definition of EPIDOC says, the name is coined from The name is coined from epigraphic documents, and it represents a subset of text encoding initiative, which is a consortium that collectively develops and maintains standards for representation of text in digital form, which you will learn later on in the next presentation. It was invented by Tom Elliott in 1999 as a response to manifesto by Silvio Pancera, who highlighted that it is important that the software used for database support has the export of data in a structured format that's defined by a document type definition, namely a specification that defines the structure, elements, and attributes of an XML document. In one word, a standardization that would bring interoperability. Important projects that followed the creation of EPIDOC along the ongoing dedication of the people who were involved in these projects contributed to EPIDOC becoming the leading standard in the field. With its structured approach, EPIDOC offers numerous benefits that distinguish it from other methods of digitization. In the first place, because the encoded content is not merely replicated digitally, but it contains rich metadata and contextual information, enabling sophisticated analysis and interpretation. And some of the notable pioneering projects are, for example, inscriptions of Aphrodisias and Aphrodisias in late antiquity, project done by Joyce Reynolds, Charlotte Rouchet, and Gabriel Baudard, and later by Charlotte Rouchet and Gabby. Next, inscriptions of Roman Tripolitania, EOSP, inscriptions of the Northern Black Sea, for example, I Sicily, Roman inscriptions of Britain, and so on. The list goes on, as you will see. These are some of the concepts related to the EPIDOC. Because it is based on TEI XML, EPIDOC leverages a widely recognized standard within the digital humanities community. In addition to being a platform free, this standardization fosters compatibility with a range of tools and platforms, enabling seamless integration into broader scholarly flows. And it ensures durability of the encoded material through the evolving technologies. Furthermore, EPIDOC fosters a culture of openness and collaboration, promoting open access to scholarly resources by advocating the use of open licenses and open data principles. Typically, the encoded texts and metadata in EPIDOC XML are shared openly through repositories, making them accessible to researchers worldwide without barriers to reuse or to distribute the material. Another important aspect is reproducibility, which means that the process of digitization is made transparent and replicable. Many tools and softwares used in workflows are open source, and the same goes for the training materials that are shared among the community members. Also, a very important project that I will mention in the end is Eagle Europeana, which was a massive effort led by Silvia Orlandi. that gathered all the major databases and pulled great energy into creating a best practice list that is still very influential and had a huge impact on the further developments in digital epigraphy. And as you can see in this slide, this is a page from digitalclassicist.org wiki. A snapshot from 2007 shows a list of projects that can fit into one page. And the snapshot from today displays 584 projects. And not all of those are epigraphy projects or epidoc projects, but they show the trends in how the field is rapidly growing. So I may say that the future of epidoc, the future of digital epigraphy is definitely digital. And I think that this is precisely why you signed up for this workshop, to learn how to harness the technology that will bring very a transformative energy to the whole field. This is all for me. And now I will give word to my colleague Dimitar, who will present introduction to markup.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, now I'll share my screen. First, several words also from me concerning the program of this week, which is so thoroughly introduced by my colleague Dragana. In this schedule that you all have and that we went through at the beginning of our workshop, we will put the links to the presentations and all the other things that we will be showing on the screens as we go. So you will be able to later go back and remind yourselves what we have been passed through. But also I would like to remind you to download and install beforehand everything that we will need for this workshop. You have instructions how to download and install Oxygen. I hope you already did this. Also for the Ajax tool, the ones of you which have not downloaded it, still please do it and see how it runs, if it runs smoothly on your machines. The ones who downloaded it, however, might want to do, and I'm excusing myself for this trouble, but you might want to download it again because we spotted some bugs in it, which now hopefully should be all right. And also the instructions about downloading FS. You can also do this. We will need this for Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon and Thursday sessions. If your Ajax is not running and you have done everything according to the instructions that you have received, including changing the ports and things like that, which are also included in the instructions, you can write to us. This is my email. My colleague Elina can also give hers. And we will see how to deal with it. And in the worst case, that if you cannot run this locally on your computer, we will have an online version of it running by Thursday. So if you cannot run the desktop application, you will have available something on which you can work online. but it is preferable if you see how your local application does these things, because basically this is what you will be doing in coding inscriptions, hopefully in the future. It is very handy to have something to visualize them right away. So without further ado, I will share my screen. Some of you may be familiar with markup languages or the XML, extensible markup language, which is used by Epidoc, but in any case, this is an introduction for those who are not familiar with the topic, and for those who want to remind themselves about it. So let me see if I can, yes. Markup languages and artificial and computer languages as a whole, including programming languages, which are, I have to say, much less human readable and much more complex, and we will not be dealing with them for the time being. But if we want to make a larger definition of what a language is, and to include all the markup languages and artificial languages and the conlangs, etc., that we have created, we can say that this is any symbolic system that conveys information between two sides, an addresser and addressee, which consists of three things: symbols, operators, and rules. For example, even the language of basic arithmetics has its symbols, which can be the prime numbers, operators such as signs like plus, minus, equals to, and rules for their combination. The natural languages also have symbols, operators, and rules, and as you know, in the flexible languages, the flexional languages such as Greek and Latin, with which you are familiar, the structure is very clearly visible, and markup languages are also something that consists of these symbols, operators, and rules. And this week you will learn how to, you will learn the basic grammar of one such language, the extensible markup language, or XML. Basically, what markup does, this is annotation. Annotation and markup can be treated as synonyms. Annotation is the thing that you are doing even without any digital tools and without any computers before you. When you take a piece of paper and you highlight things from the text, make marginal notes, etc., this is also a form of markup. In the realm of digital technology, there's the HTML language, which is hypertext markup language, which is basically what anybody of you have already seen and is using, because this is the language on which almost all the online content, all the web pages in the internet are composed. If you open a web page, and there's a function in each browser which reads view source code, and if you open this source code, you will see the core of the content of any web page is information enclosed by angular brackets and containing text, links to other text, multimedia, images, etc., and this is basically what each web page consists of. The HTML markup language basically and mostly uses visual markup. The annotation of elements in the text, the meta text to the text, which gives the browser directions about how to visualize stuff. How a title or a subtitle should be visualized, how a text should be intended on a web page, what should be highlighted as bold or italic or underline, etc., etc. Kind of visual markup also lives in your word processors. But it is mostly invisible. You don't see it operating, but there is also some kind of visual markup which a text document such as a Microsoft Word document contains. Marking up things in your text can be structural. The basic example of a structural markup is something that all of you are also familiar with, pretty familiar with. This is the organization of bibliographical references. You have usually in each and every bibliographical reference things such as author or authors, year of publication, title, and if it's an article in a journal or in a collection, a title of the article and the title of the journal, issue number, pages, etc., etc. You know very well what a bibliographical reference is made of. And you know that it can be visualized in different formats, but almost all of them contain the same basic elements. So all this can be marked up as to indicate which part of the information refers to the authors of the paper, which part of the information refers to the title of the paper, to the year, etc., etc. And then it can be processed so as to give different visual outputs. You know very well that the formats of bibliographical reference can be different. And this is a good example of what the structural markup of XML does when processed by XSLT and other ways that we will see this week. And there's also the semantic markup. You want to highlight things in your text to indicate what they are. For example, this is a word, this is a personal name, this is a geographical name, this is, for example, an official of the Roman Empire, or a provincial governor, or a local citizen, or this is a profession or an ethnicon, or things like that. This can be also done by marking up a document, by annotating a document, and this kind of markup, this side of marking up a document can be called a semantic markup. The extended markup language, it is called extended because apart from visualization, it does a lot of other things. It actually is more structural and semantic than visual. Mostly what you encode, this is the structure of the document and different data and metadata in the document that confer additional semantic information than the text of the monument that you will be dealing with. And it is stored, as Dragana said in her previous presentation, it is stored in a very simple and very flexible and very small as concerning its size, the size of the file, a textual file basically that can then be transformed in different ways into different outputs, and the different semantic stuff or structural stuff that you have encoded in your document, they can be visualized differently, be it on a web page. So XML is transformed into HTML to produce web content, or also it can be transformed into other document formats such as PDF, Microsoft Word, ODT, LaTeX, or whatever you wish. Mostly XML databases are used to produce websites, and this is what most of the epigraphic projects using EpiDoc are doing, and this is what we will learn to do this week. By the end of the week, you will have front-end visualization tools into which you will put your inscriptions, and hopefully you will see the output in an internet browser. Be it locally run, you will have an application that will start a local server, or you can do it on the online platform that we will provide. The other good thing about creating collections of multiple XML files is that all the information which is contained in them can then be indexed. So you can produce tables of contents, indices, produce searches, create filters to show only certain types of documents that contain certain information, etc., etc. So not only it is cheaper and more accessible to produce digital epigraphic corpora as compared to the printed ones, but it is also much more interactive. The users of such corpora can jump from filter to filter, from inscription to inscription, from different things mentioned in different inscriptions, without having to deal with the bulky volumes of collections such as CIL or something of the sort. So basically, what is markup and XML as part of the markup? It is text annotated by another text. So the opening and the closing tag, which surrounds a certain piece of text, a certain string of text. The opening tag and the closing tag have the same name, which usually indicates some metatextual data which describe the content surrounded by the opening and the closing tag, and the closing tag has a slash at the end. Tags can contain other tags which are embedded into them. As you can see in the second bullet in this presentation, usually in the XML editors, with one of which we'll be working this week, for the sake of convenience, the embedded elements, the daughter elements, as they are called, are presented on a new line and with a slight indentation to the right, so that they can be more easily seen. A unit of opening and closing tag, together with the content that is enclosed by them, is usually called an element. As we said, elements can contain other elements, and the sub-elements can contain yet other sub-elements embedded in them. And this can be presented as a tree-like hierarchical structure in which all the elements that contain other elements can be presented as a tree, but they are also embedded into each other. So the main element from which all the other sort of spring in a tree-like form is also the element which encompasses all the other elements. The opening tag of this main element, which is called the root element, this is the root of the tree. The opening tag stands in the front of the document, and the closing tag stands at the end of the document. And everything that there is in a markup document is contained within this root element. So you see here a hierarchical structure of an HTML document, of which the root element is HTML. So an HTML document starts with an opening tag which reads HTML and ends with the last line of such a document is the closing tag of slash HTML, and everything which is in between is embedded into this root element. So this already gives quite a rich and flexible structure by which you can describe things in your document. But in addition to that, in an element, always in the opening tag of the element, you can have also different attributes, one or more attributes. And in these attributes, which are followed by the equal sign, you have enclosed in quotation marks, you have values. For example, here you see description, a textual description of a height of an epigraphic monument, and you see the encoding. You have the opening element, opening tag of the element height, and you have the closing tag of the element height with a slash at the beginning of it. And in the opening tag, you also have the unit of measurement and the quantity, which gives the possibility to then index all the monuments, or to filter all the monuments in your collection by height, and to be able to search them by height with some exact quantification, regardless of how are they actually described in our document. You can have a text which reads 0.5 meter in height. You can have a text which reads 0.5 meters in height, etc., etc. If you have encoded all of these in the same way, you will then have a common index which indicates all the monuments which have the same height, regardless of the way this is described in the text. But for this, you must have elements throughout your collection, together with their attributes and values, which are basically the same. This is why, to control the content of each and every XML file that you have, and to ensure that they are structured in the same way, all the elements and attributes and admissible values are described in a document which rules, so to say, all the XML content in your file, and usually it stands at the beginning of the file. This document used to be called DTD, or document type definition, a document which describes what is admissible and what is not in an XML file, and according to which an XML file is structured. Now the respective format is called a schema, or an RNG schema, and its syntax is slightly different than a DTD, but it does the same job. If you link an XML document to a schema, it checks the validity of this document. And we will see now how it works. But first, as we said, usually an element contains an opening tag, closing tag, and something in between, usually a text. There are some elements that don't contain anything, and they don't have to contain anything. For example, the element for line beginning. which simply marks the beginning of a new line in the document, in our epigraphic monument, for example. And nothing needs to stay between the opening and the closing tag of the line beginning element. This is why usually you don't use an opening and a closing tag with nothing in between them. You use only one tag, which has the name of the element and the slash after it. These such elements, which usually mark boundaries in the structures of our texts and things like that, are called empty elements. And a typical empty element which we'll be using a lot is the line beginning element. Line break or line beginning, but line beginning is a slightly better description of what this element does. As we said several times already, an element can contain daughter elements or sub-elements, which should be entirely embedded into the element which stands higher in the hierarchy. Here you see how a well-formed markup should look. You start the first element, you start a second sub-element in it, then you first close the second element, and then you close the first element. If you open an element head to a document, and within head you open title, first you write whatever you want to write, and first you need to close the second element you have opened, the title element, and after that you need to close the head element, which is one of the crucial principles of well-formed markup. You don't, which usually is the intuition of people who have worked with, predominantly with analog text. You don't open element 1, open element 2, then close element 1, and then close element 2, because this will lead to the intermingling of elements, and your document, your XML document, won't be able to be processed by XSLT or whatever you're using. So the markup needs to be well-formed, and we'll talk more about this in a while. But well-formed XML is already not the whole picture. The XML also needs to be valid against the schema. Well-formedness and validity are two separate things. Here you see a snapshot of an older version that the one we'll be using of Oxygen XML editor. You see here a document, and you see at the beginning of the document, usually this is highlighted in purple, a declaration which states that this is an XML document, a version of the XML, and the encoding that is used. We will use the Unicode, of course, which is UTF-8, but this comes automatically at the beginning of all the documents that we'll work with. And then you see XML code which is not well formed, because on line 7 the encoder forgot to close the opening tag of the element with the pointy bracket. And so the good thing about XML editors such as Oxygen is that usually the mistakes that you have committed are highlighted in red. And you can go to the respective place in the document and see what's going on and correct the mistake. Usually it is, usually the software describes what the mistake consists in. But you can have a perfectly well-formed document which is still not valid according to the schema which you have assigned to it, which also will show here in the opening 1, 2, 3 lines of each and every document. An element might not be in the exact place in the structure of the file. And a value of an attribute might not be permitted, or something like this. So when we do the encoding, we will take care for our documents to be both well-formed and valid against the EPIDOC compliant schema that we will use. My colleague Dragan Nikolic also, I don't know what is wrong with this slide. Sorry, but we will correct this when we link to it in the program. Already told you about text encoding initiative, which produces schemas which can be used for all the humanities data that can be encoded, and the EPIDOC schema, which is a subset of TAI. And there's also, to this day, there are also subsets of EPIDOC, for example, SIGIDOC, which is used to describe and publish online Byzantine lead seals. So EPIDOC can be used apart from inscriptions, also for papyri and other text-bearing objects, for which we now have SIGIDOC. This is the first presentation that we will have about these issues, and I would like to now ask if somebody has questions or comments to it, and I will link to it in a while. If not, then I will start with another one. We already discussed a bit, yes?
Can we say something about the links to the presentations, or
Yes.
All right. Okay.
I will link this presentation in the program, maybe in the break or something like this.
Yes, I know. I mean, just to tell the participants that they will have the access to the
Yes.
Yes.
Probably the most convenient thing to do is in the program that
Yes.
we already have. As we go, the presentations will be the links to the presentations will be put there. And now another presentation by you also have training materials created by the EPIDOC consortium, some of which you will see. Some of them are also available online, and we will give you links when you can see all of them. We will probably not be using all of them. So this is another presentation that deals a bit more thoroughly with the rules of XML. We already highlighted the most important rules, but there is more to it than this. So yes, we already went through this. XML is made up of plain text. So yes, as I said, we'll be using an XML editor because it's really much more convenient to use an XML editor. All the elements and their attributes and the values to the attributes are highlighted in different colors. There is indentation, so you can more easily see what you're encoding, and there are signs where you have done something wrong, etc., etc. But basically what XML is, this is plain text. So if you wish so, you can open it in a textual editor such as Notepad, or even in your browser. This is plain text. And in this plain text, the meta text, the tags, are usually encompassed by pointy brackets, which means that if you have pointy brackets in your text, you might not use them because the processing then of the file will try to read them as XML tags. So try to avoid these when you put text in your XML files. These should be preserved only for the meta text of the opening and closing tags. There are some epigraphic sigla, which are usually represented by pointy brackets, but they are encoded differently than that in order to have pointy brackets as a result in your epigraphic edition, and we will see how this is done. Also, escape the use of ampersand. So the angle brackets can be rendered as ampersand LT semicolon and ampersand GT semicolon, which stands for less than and greater than as mathematical symbols, but there are also other ways to encode this. Usually in XML, what is introduced by this ampersand symbol is the so-called entity. We will not deal with declaring entities in our XML code, but if you happen to have an ampersand in your text, don't use simply the sign for ampersand, but use this ampersand itself and then AMP semicolon. The thing that we said about values and attributes, and here something new, that white spaces are significant in XML. Between the name of your element and any possible attributes within the opening tag of the element, you should put a space. So if you have an element called paragraph and you want to indicate an attribute type equals new, make sure to have a white space between P and type. Otherwise, it will be read as an element name. P type new will be perceived by the processing program of the XML file as an element name. And also spaces between textual strings, between words or parts of words, is also significant in XML. If you put space in between words, and if you put space in between words which are encoded, here you see encoded words which are all tagged with the element W, which stands for word, the presence of white space will be then present in the output of your document. However, the type and amount of white space is not significant. You can have a single white space, you can have a new line, you can have like 10 white spaces, they will be all read by the processing as one. So white space is significant in as much as it is present or absent, but how much white space you put in between strings in your XML document is not significant. Not that you would want to do it, probably, but yes, we need to say this. Also, in your files, you can have comments, which are usually highlighted in green by the Oxygen software and by other XML editors. And they are also enclosed in pointy brackets, in angle brackets, but they start with an exclamation mark and 2 dashes. This is textual content that you can put in your document as note to self while encoding something. This is a content which is not supposed to be then processed by the front end that processes and visualizes your XMLs. This is content that is not visualized, but it is helpful if you want to make a note to self while encoding something, or a note to somebody else if you are working in team. And you can also use it to comment out, as they say, a part of your code. You want to preserve a part of your code and deal with it later, but you think, for example, that something is not right in exactly this part of your XML file, and you need to leave it for later to code anew or edit or do something like this. So you can put this exclamation mark into dashes at the opening element of the respective part of the code that you want to preserve but not process, and it becomes a comment. So it becomes it's something which is present in the file, but it is ignored by processing and copying. So yes, once again about well-formedness, all open tags must close, provided that they are not empty. Any characters such as pointy brackets and the ampersand must not be used, they must be escaped. All the elements must be wholly contained by all ancestors. The whole document must be contained by one root element, which in our case will be TI, because Epidoc is a subset of TI XML, and attribute values may not contain markup, which means that attribute values must be alphanumeric strings. That is to say, they should consist of only digits and letters of the alphabet. Some common well-formedness errors, I would call them rather problems. As we said, all the daughter elements must be contained by the parent element. But quite often, in the documents that are processed by XML, we have things which are hard to deal with. For example, you have a book, and you have pages in this book, and the text that runs on these pages may have paragraphs, and of course, it so happens from time to time that the paragraph starts on one page and ends on the next page. What do we do then? If we try to mark up the structure of the book with the root element book, and then the daughter element page, and then the sub-element to page, which is paragraph. If a paragraph starts on page 1 and ends on page 2, at first we might think that we must open the paragraph element here and close it down there, but this will create an error in well-formedness, because it will violate the principle that all the daughter elements must be opened and closed within the parent element. So you cannot close the page element before closing the paragraph element. So what would be the solution here? There are several things that can be made, and this is how Epidoc XML operates also, we will see. Especially if we reach to the point when we speak about text parts. One of the most straightforward solutions to this problem, but not necessarily the best one, is to pretend that the paragraph closes before the page finishes. So you close the element paragraph before you close the page element, just for the sake of well-formedness of the document, and then you reopen it anew when you start a new page element, but this is a rather crude solution because it does not conform to the fact that we still have in the source document that we're encoding, we still have one paragraph that starts on page 1 and ends on page 2. We can insert attributes to these paragraph elements, which will deal with the situation better. For example, we open the element paragraph and we close it before closing the page, but we also provide it with element part, with attribute part. So paragraph part start, and then when we start a new page, we open a new daughter element within which reads paragraph with an attribute part end. And then when we submit our XML file to processing, we state that all the paragraph elements that contain the attribute start and end should be put together in the output. So you have a page break which runs in the middle of the paragraph, but the paragraph stands as one. Also, the most elegant solution is not to have ordinary elements which read page and you need to open the page tag and then close the page tag, but you have empty element which does not have an opening and a closing tag, which has only one tag, and which is very convenient for designating borders. We have an empty element which reads page begin, and it does not interfere with the other ordinary elements which have opening and closing tags, so you can safely put the empty page begin element in the middle of your paragraph element, and it would not affect the well-formedness of the document. All these decisions are valid. They will produce good XML, but some of them, for the purposes of your documents in particular, might be preferred. This is why there are ready-made schemas and templates which have made the work of the digital epigraphers easier, because you simply take the skeleton of an XML file and fill in the information that you need to fill in. And of course, your empty elements which designate page borders can be numbered. You have page begin number 1, number 2, number 3, and these numbers can then be visualized, which is usually what we do with the lines of an inscription that are also numbered, and most of the processing scenarios for epigraphic XML follow the convention to visualize each fifth line, as in usually in epigraphic publications. But in your visualization scenario, the way you visualize your XML content is called visualization scenario. You can choose other conventions, for example, to visualize every second line, or even every line. But the information is there in your source document, and the visualization of this information is a whole other story. You may want to number your pages or lines or textual parts, even without choosing to visualize this numbering at all. So here are some common well-formedness errors. Can you tell what is the error in the first instance, which is in the first bullet? Somebody from the audience can write in the chat, or you can speak up if you wish. Where exactly in this code there's something wrong? Yes, the attribute of the value of the attribute cannot have anything except alphanumeric characters. Probably this person who has encoded the value in this way wants to signify that they want this value to be in italics, but this is not the proper way to do it. You can only have the name Theodotus here. By the way, this is an obsolete way to encode personal names, but we will go back to that. What about the second one, which is an Old English text with some editorial sigla in it? What's the problem here in our second instance?
Again,
Yes.
the use of angular brackets.
Yes. This piece of text contains some editorial sigla in the form of angular brackets, but as we said, these angular brackets in your text should not be used, because then this ter will be read as the opening tag of an element, and the mistake that you will receive from the element there is not closed within parent, which means that it reads this string of character as an element, and it expects it to be to also have a closing tag to this element. And even if you provide it with a closing tag like slash there, you will have an error that such an element is not permitted in your schema. So avoid using angular brackets. And what about the third one?
Sign between Reynolds and Rouchet, how it is called.
Yes,
we should not use
this ampersand.
Ampersand, yes.
Shall not be used here. So in your text, if you, well, usually in your epigraphic text, you would not have an ampersand, but maybe in the bibliography, depending on the format of bibliography, you have signs like this. So it should be avoided, because it treats the name Rouchet as an entity, and it is not. So yes, about the schema validation, I forgot to say, but here it is written that the convenient thing about having a schema against which your files will validate is also good, because as you try to encode things, the schema will kind of guide you to the process. If you start typing up an element, if you put an angular bracket, it will give you a list of all the possible elements that can be contained in this exact part of your XML document. And also, if you hover your mouse over an element name, over the opening tag of an element, it will give you a short description of what this element does. So, yes. Yes, and this is it. Do you have questions, comments? So if you do not have, I think that maybe now I shall give the word to Elina.
Hi, everybody. I will share my screen so I can introduce you to your very first XML files. Here in the program, I have linked three documents. The first one is just an informative structure cheat sheet. It's not an XML per se, but it is a hint you would probably like to use later when actually working with the XML. And the second and the third files are the ones you would probably have to download. If not now, then before the afternoon session. The first file is, once you click the link, it automatically saves it, is the general EpiDoc schema against which you can, XML template, which validates against the EpiDoc schema. And the second file is the more structured and more specific template of our project, the Telamon project. Please do download both files, and now I will open them within Oxygen. I don't know whether you have already installed Oxygen. If you haven't, please do so in the lunch break, because in the afternoon we will begin to use it. For now, I will just show you some basics. It's quite an easy and user-friendly program, but just to show you some basics. First, it loads very slowly. So don't be afraid of being too slow with using it. That's just it. It depends on the computer. In my case, it's quite slow. And here, once you open the program, I already have some things opened. Here are the templates that I show you where to download. As Mitko said, this is the template that helps you not to write everything from scratch, but to just fill in the blanks where applicable. And now I will briefly just walk you through a template, an EpiDoc document, just to show you which information lives where and so on. But first about EpiDoc Oxygen itself. When you want to open a file, you can do it from here, and you just select the XML document. At first, it will probably ask you, would you like to associate XML documents with Oxygen? Please do so. It will be much easier. The computer will automatically know that just every XML file should be opened with Oxygen, and that's what we want. Some features, I have made a small presentation. Some features of Oxygen. Pardon me. Once you have downloaded the XML files, you may want to create a file, a folder, actually, a folder where you will put all the documents you would create during this workshop. And make it as easy, accessible as possible, since we are going to use it very often, and you don't have to search for this every time in say my documents and so on and so on. And then you should create a copy of the template and put it in this folder. And this is an important note, name it accordingly, because if you leave it with XX EpiDoc templates, parenthesis 1, it will mess you and you will get lost in a while. Then you can open it with oxygen, and yeah, I already show you what you will see. Some useful shortcut keys. I will link this presentation as soon as I finish it, because it is useful to know these things when you open your oxygen. Useful shortcut keys: Control, Shift, and Y is wrap text, and I will show you what you open. Yep. When you first open your oxygen, I already did that, but anyways, you can have this text way exceeding your screen, the visible part of your screen. So you should just wrap text. And there's a short key, or you can make it from here: Document, Edit, Toggle line wrap. Do it as soon as you open your oxygen, because it really helps you just to see your whole document. The second thing you might want to do as soon as you open your oxygen is to just make your text a little bit more visible by enlarging your font, because otherwise the letters are a little bit small, and especially if you have underdots and other sigla, you might not see them as well as you should. So 2 steps that would make your life easier. And another very useful shortcut key is Control E, that surrounds a text with angle brackets. And here you see the program, the oxygen itself gives you a list of possible tags. And this saves you a lot of work. Now I'll delete this. Ideally, it will delete the other tag as well, but that is not the case in my computer. Another note is that with different computers, sometimes oxygen behaves a little bit different. Worst case scenario, it won't autofill your elements and your tags. That's a little bit boring, but it happens. You'll get used to it. Other useful features. Of course, oxygen works with shortcuts that are short keys that are used in Word too. So Control S, use this, save periodically, because if something happens, or if the power is out or something, or the oxygen crashes for some reason, you should have saved your document. Otherwise, all the work would be lost. Control Z is to undo an action, and to periodically validate your document. What means to validate a document? As Mitko said, in the very beginning of your document, you have 3 lines that are directing your document to a schema that contains all the rules, all the possibilities that make your document a valid XML document. So periodically you should tick this blank page with a tick, yeah, and it will validate your document. It will send it to the schema. It will run through, the schema will run through the document, and you will get, if you have any mistakes, you will get a report. Let's do that here. Of course, here there are no mistakes, but let's make a mistake and see what message we will have. I remember that yep, I corrected a mistake. At first, this said something like photo here. And when I try to validate this, I get a message for an error. The value of attribute URL is invalid. And now I know the exact place. This red slash here gives me the exact place, and I can correct it with photo EPG. And now, in just a few moments, again, it depends on your computer, it might take a little bit longer. It should stop complaining, and again, you will see this green color that indicates that everything is okay with your XML. Now, about the structure of this scary looking document, it's not that hard and difficult and computery as it looks. I will walk you through. Yep, other useful features. I don't know what. We will get to this other useful feature in the afternoon during the hands-on session. Just 1 second. Let's see what a structure of an XML looks like. And if you have opened your the template documents, you will see that they contain exactly the same divisions. So again, as Mitko said, everything is surrounded by the root element. In our case, this is TI. So all the XML documents begin with TI, and at the very, very end of the document, again, if you have the closing tag of TI, the TI root element contains daughter elements. So all the elements that are within one element are called daughter elements, and the big one is called parent element. So one daughter element of TI is TI header. The other is the facsimile. Oh, I'm not sure how to pronounce that in English, and I'm really sorry for that. But yeah, the place where you put your graphic image, or more than one. Of course, in most cases, you have more than one pictures. And this is the second part. And the third part is the text itself and the notes that you have within describing this text. Let's see what we have in the TI header. TI, I repeat, is daughter element of TI. Within TI header, you have some more elements. You have title statement. This stands for title statement. And the title itself. Here you name your publication. You can choose any title you want, of course. Then you have publication statement, where you describe the publication, the electronic publication itself. This is publication by our project, by the Prometheus project. It is done on 15th of May by whoever, and so on and so on. And then you have source description, and this is the part we will discuss, I think, in this afternoon or tomorrow, not sure. The source description, where you have the description of the bearing object. This third part of the TI header describes the monument, the bearing object of the text you are about to encode. So, yeah, again, in the already set order, more about source description. It includes, here about the third part, the source description. It includes MS-DESK. Okay, MS-DESK stands for manuscript description, because initially XML was used for dealing with manuscripts, and then it was adapted to encode epigraphic other materials and epigraphic materials. And this MS is a relic from this very first use of XML. So MS-DESK stands for manuscript description. That would be your monument description. You can remember it that way. And it includes MS identifier. MS identifier is the current, the location of your monument in a museum. And the ID. So the ID of the monument gives you a lot of information, and according to my, I think it was one of the absolute obligatory informations you had to put in the source description. So you have to you have to have something in this element, some information. If the monument doesn't have an ID, it is not part of a museum collection, you will just write non-available or any other sign that it doesn't have an ID, but it has to contain some sort of information here in this element. Then you have the physical description. This stands for physical description. The physical description of the text-bearing objects contains itself a more daughter elements such as type of monument, material, and so on and so on. And then you have this history part. Here, the thing with XML is that it gives you an opportunity to be extremely detailed or not. It's just a matter of choice. In the history part, you can be as detailed as you want. You can tell the whole history of the monument, or you can just give the monument, the dating, the location, and so on. It's a matter of your choice, and it has to do only with the purpose of your project. So let's see. Yeah, second part are the photographs of your document, ideally more than one. Again, surrounded by this element. And then you have the text. The text is has daughter element body, and element body contains 5 main divisions, and this probably is one of the more important parts. First, you have div type, division type, edition. Division type edition is where you put the text of your inscription. It is surrounded by this AB tags. AB stands for anonymous block, but that's an information you don't have to remember at all. So here you have the text, you copy and paste the text here, the text of the inscription. Then you have division type apparatus, translation, commentary, and bibliography, much like a paper edition would look itself. So most of this is actually what you have displayed on a page. And yeah, we will deal with all this more detailed in the afternoon. And yep, that will be it. How do I escape this? Aha, okay. So what else do we have here? One thing I would link again after this session are the EpiDoc guidelines, but first I will give the word again to Mitko to give you some more information about the encoding, and then we will show you how to use these guidelines. They are quite useful. They can be, I think the translation in Bulgarian is quite partial, but they're perfectly working in English. There's a search bar that is very useful, but more about that after Mitko's presentation. Any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, if there are any questions so far, thanks, Elena, for the introduction to the skeleton of the XML file and how it opens in Oxygen, which I hope you all have installed by now. And as you saw, there are 3 parts basically of an EpiDoc XML document. The TI header, which contains all the meta information, with which we will deal tomorrow. The facsimile part, which links to an image file, which can be either online somewhere. If you have on Wikimedia Commons, for example, a snapshot of an inscription, you can link to it, but also contained in a folder somewhere locally in your project. And the text part, which contains the edition of the inscription, the apparatus criticus, the commentary, and the bibliography. And we will deal with this now precisely with the edition of the inscription itself. And we will make exercises first about editing an epigraphic text, together with all the editorial sigla that you know very well that an epigraphic text has and uses. There is a pretty straightforward connection between an epigraphic siglum and a tag which is related to it. And yes, I will show you one document that is supposed to show. This is a cheat sheet which shows all the editorial sigla and how they are rendered in Epidoc XML. Let me see. Sorry, bear with me for a while. We have a smaller cheat sheet and a larger cheat sheet. I don't know if you see well here. I will try to. I don't know if I can make this bigger. I'll try. As Professor Nikolic said in her introduction this morning, the instigation for creating Epidoc by Tom Elliott at the turn of the century was actually given by Pancera, who is one of the authorities on editorial sigla in epigraphic publications. So Epidoc follows closely the so-called Leiden conventions of epigraphic publishing and editing, and I will walk you through those and see how they are encoded and see how they are rendered in different styles of epigraphic publications. As we discussed this morning, one and the same semantic markup can have multiple outputs. There's usually one standard output, but here you have at least two very close, but still a bit different in their details, ways of rendering the same thing. You have the Pancera and Epigraphische Datenbank Heidelberg version, and the Supplementum Epigraphicum Grecum, and the Duke database of documentary papyri rendering, but everything that stands behind them is one and the same. So you have line breaks, which can be indicated by a slash or a vertical pipe in an epigraphic edition, or simply by a new line in the edited text. These are covered by the tag, the empty element line beginning or line break with numbers. As I told you, these numbers can be visualized, all of them if needed, or the default visualization is every fifth line, as in the most epigraphic publications. But you know that there are some epigraphic publications which, for different reasons, follow different conventions. There are some inscriptions to which you might want to indicate, for different reasons, the numbering under of every line. And you can do this, but the default visualization is line 5, line 10, line 15, and so on. But you do the line break empty element with a slash at the end, and then you enter the number with the value 1, 2, 3, etc. If a word is divided across lines, which usually is indicated by this small dash in an epigraphic as well as in other texts, as an additional attribute to the second line where the word is transferred to, you add break with value no, which indicates that the line break does not break the word. It's the same word, and then this attribute break equals no gives you in the visual output this slash. The textual divisions, as Elena said, div type. We have different div types. You have div type addition, but within this div type addition, if the text itself is broken into parts, for example, an inscription which is broken into parts, or an inscription which contains a relief or an image, and you have the first part of the text is above the image and the second part of the text is below image, you can have different subdivisions in this div type edition, which read div type text part. Sometimes in an epigraphic monument, you have letters which are clearly seen, but you cannot interpret them in any possible way. Usually in these editions, these letters, these strings of letters rather, are printed with capital letters in the editorial publication of the text. And this is usually encoded as orig, which stands for original. This is what originally stands on the stone, but we abstain from giving any interpretation to it. There are some letters which are unclear, that are ambiguous, that are not well comprehensible. Usually only a small part of them is preserved, but because of the context, if, for example, they form a part of the word and the rest of the word is clearly legible, and they are printed with usually with underdots. The letters which are rendered with underdots in an epigraphic edition are encoded as unclear in your epidoc XML. If you surround a part of the text with unclear, or a letter, single letter with unclear, in the visual output, it should be presented as underdotted letters. Sometimes there are lacunae in our text which cannot be restored. Maybe some parts of letters are seen there, but we cannot make anything. Usually this is given by, for example, in the Panchier conventions with a series of crosses or pluses, or with dashes, or multiple dots, sometimes encompassed by square brackets. These are the lacunae of, or the parts of the epigraphic text which are completely lost. You say this is gap. All the lacunae are rendered with gap. And this gap has an obligatory attribute reason. If you have absolutely nothing, and these gaps are usually then marked with square brackets, you have gap reason lost. If you have something there, but we're not sure how to interpret it, you have gap reason illegible. Usually you want to indicate how big your lacuna is. So you have, if you have a precise number of letters or lines which are illegible, you have additional attributes which are quantity and unit. Quantity usually is a numeric value, 1, 2, 3, etc. And the unit could be either character, if you are missing circa 3 letters of your inscription, or a unit can be line. If you believe there is a 1 or 2 or 3 lines at the beginning or at the end of your document missing. There is the specific case of a text which was lost. First, let me also specify that you may not know how big exactly is your lacuna. You're not sure if you have lost 1 or 2 or 10 lines at the end of the document. Then you don't use quantity, then you use extent. And the attribute of this, the value of this attribute extent is unknown. And again, you may not know how many characters, or you may not know how many lines you've lost. So you use the unit equals character, or the unit equals line. If you want to show that there is an imprecise amount of characters or if lines missing, so you want to say that your you have a lacuna of circa 5 letters or circa 5 lines, then you add an additional attribute, precision. And this precision, in order to be rendered with circa or with a question mark in your visual output, must have the value low. So if you have a lacuna of approximately 5 letters missing, you have gap, reason lost, quantity 5, unit character, precision low. If you do not add the precision low attribute, then it will read here that you have 5 characters lost, and that's it. If you're sure that there's room for exactly 5 characters in your lacuna, then it's without the precision low attribute. Quite often, you have a text which was lost, but could be restored by the editor because of the context. And it is usually in epigraphic editions rendered by square brackets. The square brackets are supplied reason lost. Everything you want to encompass in square brackets as restored by the editor of the monument, you encompass by the supplied reason lost element. Some passages of the text may have been read by a previous editor or by somebody who saw the monument previously, but now they are non-present on our physical text, on our physical monument. And then you have also the supplied element, but with attribute reason undefined, and then you give the evidence who read this previously on the stone. And there are different ways to render such text. Usually such text is such passages which have been read by somebody who witnessed the monument previously but are now lost, are usually rendered in editions with underlined text. So you have supplied reason lost for lacunae which were restored by the editor, and supply reason undefined evidence previous editor if you have something which is now lost but was legible at some time in the past, and somebody saw the monument in its previous state. You also have letters which are omitted by the stonecutter or by the person who produced the inscription and are added by the editor. Then you have usually in the epigraphic editions of the text, these are the pointy brackets. These are the angular brackets. The angular brackets, as we said, you do not render them by angular brackets. On the output, they are rendered by angular brackets, but you give yet another supplied element, but this time with the attribute reason omitted. They are letters that have been wrongly inscribed at the monument, but which are surplus, which should not be there. That they have not been omitted, but they are more than needed, and they are usually included in epigraphic editions in curly brackets, and they are encoded with surplus. If you have letters which are put in the editions of the monuments, either in triangular brackets or in these square parentheses, I don't know how to call them. These are letters which were wrong. The stonecutter got the letters wrong, and the editor corrects them. And then you can use several elements, actually. No, you can use choice and then the correction. So you have main element choice, and two sub-elements. One is core, which stands for corrected, and the other one is sick, which is the thing which stands on the stone. For example, the example which is here given, it should be AB, but the stone cutter switched the places of the two letters and wrote BA, but the editor corrects this, and we encode it in this way. Now I'm walking you through this document, but this, as well as the most detailed cheat sheet, which I'll show you in a while, I'll link to them right away, and you can consult them at any time during our hands-on session when you will encode your own text. There is also the case when there is an abbreviation. Also, several elements and sub-elements there, and we will have a special presentation about this. There is a special sign for editor's note. In the inscription, for example, if he wants to put a sick sign after a word, this is a way to do it. Note, sick, and tag note. If you have a space left on stone, this not a lacuna, but a space which was deliberately left on the stone in its original writing, then you do not use the gap element, but you use the space element. And as with the gap, you specify the quantity and the unit. If you have numerical values, be it Roman numerals or Greek numerals, which are usually rendered in with either a horizontal line over the letter or with a prime sign at the upper right corner of the letter, you encode this with num, which stands for number, and you usually give, not usually, but I think it's obligatory, you give the value of the number, and inside the num element is the particular string which is used in the monument to indicate this type of number. And if you have a symbol, for example, a leaf or a cross or something like that, this is usually encoded by G, which can have a ref attribute or a type attribute, and you can write G, type leaf, type cross, type dot, if you have an interlineal dot, and several other types, which can then be visualized as leaves or dots in your visual output. And you have a slightly more detailed presentation of a cheat sheet here. I will just show you, and then I'll simply link to it. This has slightly more features. For example, here you have the apices on the Roman letters. If you have a Roman inscription containing these, you can also have this in some other text-bearing objects different from inscriptions or stone. On stone, for example, you have this on writing tablets, and the Tabula Vindulandae project, which uses Epidoc, makes rich use of this one. This is rendered by high means highlight, and it usually is used to indicate something that is highlighted in some way in your text, either by apices, or you have supralinear lines. You have also ligatured letters, which can be encoded by high rendition ligature. It's your choice if you do this. We usually don't do this in our Greek epigraphy project, the Telamon collection, simply because the ligatures are way too many. In each line of a given inscription, you can have up to 3 or 4 ligatures. So we decided that we'll simply describe them in the commentary and the apparatus of the inscription. All the more because they don't have special visualization. In some editions, they're visualized by this small curved line, which should stand above the 2 letters or the 3 letters which are ligatured, but this does not work very well in the different printed outputs, as well as it does not work very well here, as you can see. Something very important, if you have a deletion, not something that is destroyed by time, but a very purposeful deletion of text, such as in Damnatio Memoriae, you use the element del with an attribute rend, which stands for rendition, erasure. This is usually double square brackets. And you can have a gap within a deletion. You can also have this. You can have overstruck letter, which is encoded in this way. And you have different features described here. Now I will stop my presentation and I'll ask you if you have some questions in the meanwhile. And if not, maybe we can have several more thorough presentations concerning some specific features of the text. This is the general list of everything that you might have in your textual editions. But we have also very specific cases, and if you wish, first we will discuss at somewhat more length the gaps and the lacunae, then probably the abbreviations, and then probably we have a presentation on special symbols and marks, and also a presentation of token tagging, which means you want to encode in your text also the different words, and you want to probably lemmatize the different words and also encode and refer to a list somewhere your personal names. So, shall we start with gaps and lacunae, which is, I think, the most straightforward things? Is everything clear until now? Please bear in mind that I have only walked you through a very detailed list, which you will have at your disposal at any time, and you will go back to it whenever you feel you have forgotten how to do something. But the most common occurrences, such as unclear letters or supplied parts of the document or gaps, this is something that you will remember very quickly how to do. So things such as supplied reason lost, you will learn right away. But if you want, now we can start with the gaps and lacunae. Shall I proceed? Or, yeah. Okay. So, there is a lot of information which is repeated here. You have a text which is restored, which is usually given in square brackets in epigraphic editions. By the way, in the afternoon, when we take to our hands-on session, you will probably have to copy-paste the text and you will probably have to preserve all the editorial sigla in the text in order to remember where they are, but you will gradually substitute them with the respective epidoc tags. So you have here kapeskeu aste, which is restored, and epiton eus and ebestaton, which is restored, and the restored part of the text, as we said, are rendered by supplied reason lost. The beginning of the restored part is where your starting elements starts, and the closing square bracket is where the closing elements come. So for sebestaton part, you have supplied reason lost, and you see that right before the part that we have completely lost is an unclear letter, which also gets rendered like this. So in your visualization scenario, in all the front ends that we will show you on Wednesday and on Thursday, these epigraphic conventions are followed. Everything that is encoded as supplied reason lost is then visualized as in square brackets, and everything that is encoded as unclear is visualized as underdotted letters. Hopefully, if the front-end tool works well, but you have this well embedded in FS as well as in Ajax, and probably some of this works also in the more generic visualization tools that you'll be shown, for example, TI Publisher. I'm not sure about the underdotted letters because they're very specifically epigraphic, but the supplying of lacunae also holds true for editing of other types of documents, and this should work also in all the different elements. You also want to indicate that after this restored part of the word, there is some space completely lost, but we don't know how much it is. So you can simply put the empty element gap here. Gap is an empty element, just like the line break or line beginning. You just put it without an opening and a closing tag whenever you want to indicate that there is a lacuna, but you can also, yes, you can show that you don't know how much exactly is lost. And you also add this here, because after the parts of the inscriptions that we have restored, we probably had something more. The inscription continued as far right as could possibly go, but we're not sure how much exactly. What part of the content is lost, so we encode it in this way. If you do this one by one, you will have no problems, but as you see here already, and as you will see in the afternoon when you start doing your own inscriptions, at some point the encoding of the text becomes hardly legible for the human eye, and you need to be careful how you where you start and where you end your elements, but there are some handy ways to handle that, some of which Elina has already shown you, and we will see others as we proceed. This is about lacunae. I believe that we don't have more of this. Do you have any questions for now? Oh, yes, there is. There is something more, simply. So, you render this as this. You render this as this. But you
You're not sharing screen.
I'm not, sorry. If you have in the visualization of Epidoc, you have here encoded the restored text and the lacuna separately, so they should be visualized in square brackets with opening and closing square bracket for the supplied text and with opening and closing square bracket for the lacuna. But this is not what you want to get. You want to get the restored part of the word and the multiple dots into one square bracket. The good thing is that if you encode it properly, the two square brackets which are put against each other, they will eliminate each other, and you will have just one set of square brackets, an opening one, which is before the restored part of the word, and the closing one, which is after the gap. So this is something that you don't need to deal with. There are some odd bits of lacuna that you have an unclear letter, and then you have a lost part. But you want also to indicate this. This is not the proper way to do it. What is meant by this? There is something like this in some epigraphic publications, but the more proper way to do it is actually with a question mark after the EUTHS word, which gives the impression that we're not sure that the part which should be restored is EUTHS or some other word which starts with E. Then you put the cert law here. This is to indicate that the certainty with which you restore this word is not high. You're not sure that if this E stands for EUTHS. And yes, if I'm reminding you that both words, EUTHS and Sebastos, should be encoded as supplied separately, and then the internal square brackets will just eliminate each other. So we always mark up the semantics of what is on the stone or the papyrus, and not what we think we want our edition to look like. So we encode all the supplied words separately, and we don't encode all the supplied passage from the beginning until the end, where we think our brackets should begin and should end. This is something which is taken care of by the visualization. But we want to indicate that both the first word or part of it and the second word are supplied by the editor. And the way they are visualized is something which is completely different. So if you start your own encoding, please bear in mind that you want to think of what information you want to render as an editor, and on the first place, and not how you want it to look in your edition in the second place. The way it looks is rendered automatically in the embedded visualization scenarios that you have, which are either based on XSLT or, as you will see in the case of Ajax, are rendered by PHP. But this is it. Any questions until now? Do you have something to say, something to add? Of course, I will list both cheat sheets, the simpler one and the more detailed one, as well as this presentation and the others which are to come in your program, so you can go back to them at any time. If not, probably we should proceed with abbreviations, which are usually rendered with round brackets in our edition. And you already saw this on the cheat sheet, but let us see it now in more detail. We start with the simplest case. Usually you have an abbreviated word, a part of which is seen on the stone, and another part is not seen on the stone, but usually we give it surrounded by angle brackets with round brackets in the addition. So we have the whole word Augustus, which is expanded in our edition, and we have the abbreviated part which is present in the stone, and we have the Ustus part which is missing from the stone. So we have three elements here. The main element is expand. This is the whole thing. One daughter element, one sub-element is abbr, which is the actual abbreviation which stands on the stone. The other part is ustus, which does not stand on the stone, but we want to include in our edition in round brackets. As you know, here probably we should open a bracket that in many epigraphic documents, we can have two kinds of rendering of the text. One is the diplomatic edition, which presents simply what is on the stone. And the other one is the editorial text, which is with all the additions, corrections, resolving of abbreviatures as here. And for the documents in Epidoc XML, when you put them through a visualization scenario, it usually forks into two different versions of the text, the diplomatic and the editorial ones. The diplomatic is usually in scriptio continua and only in capital letters, because this is what the letters on the stones originally looked like, and with only the abbreviated part of the abbreviations standing on the present in the text, which means that of this expand, abbr, and x elements, in the diplomatic edition, only the abbr element and its content is visualized. And as we saw, the presence of space is significant, so don't put space in between the abbreviated part and the resolved part of the abbreviation. That is to say, between the abbr and the x elements, in order for it to be correctly presented. So the editorial rendering of this text will be Augustus with Ustus in round brackets, but in the diplomatic edition, only the Aug part, which is the part of the word which is actually present on the physical monument, is seen. Unexpanded abbreviation, you only have the abbr, and the editorial text says that, okay, this is an abbreviation, but we don't know how to expand it. So here in the round bracket, you have sui generis lacuna, you have dashes, and in the diplomatic edition, you simply have what is on the stone without any explanations whatsoever. But specifically in the Latin inscriptions, we have rather complex cases when you have two letters. The last letter of the abbreviation is duplicated to indicate the plural form. For example, AUG with two Gs, two Gs may signify Augusti, for example, Augusti duo or simply Augusti. You should have slightly more sub-elements for encoding this. Let us see. We have the abbreviated form, which is AUG. You have the expansion, which is Augusti duo. You have Usti duo, which is in your editorial text surrounded by round brackets, but you have an additional G which shows physically on the stone, but which you want to suppress when you resolve the abbreviation. And this additional G is encoded with AMA, which I forgot what it stands for, but it does the following job. So you have AUG, you have a second G encoded with as AM, and this O is encompassed by the element ABR, abbreviation. And then you have the part which is the real expansion and which is presented in the editorial text in round brackets surrounded by the X tags. This additional letter is something that if you encode it like this, it will not show in the resolution of the abbreviation in the editorial text, but it will show in the diplomatic text, which represents exactly what is given on your physical monument. So if you encode this in this way, in the diplomatic text, you will have the whole AUG thing plus the additional G, which stands for plural, and the editorial text, this additional G will be suppressed. It will not be seen. Non-sequential abbreviation, when you have different parts of the words which are present on the stone, but you have some parts of the words which are omitted and need to be resolved. So all the parts which need to be put in round brackets are encompassed in X. So in ABR, you encompass everything that is physically present on the stone. So the ko part of the word consul and the s part of the word consul, and everything which is actually an expansion of this abbreviation, you put into the X. Just as in the case with the simple abbreviation Augustus, but with slightly more sub-elements, because your abbreviation is non-consequential. You have different part of the words that you want to expand. So in your editorial or interpretive, as it is also called edition, you have consul with the letters N and the ending U, which are encompassed in round brackets, which shows that this is an abbreviation resolved, but only cos, which stands in the diplomatic edition. If you have an abbreviation for a full word, as sometimes with this sign, which pretty much resembles the Latin L, and which stands for indicating the ear. You want to have the etus in genitive for time in your edition. So the abbreviation, which is actually this sign, the expansion of the abbreviation is etus, and for this you use the tag in the abbreviation parent element, because you want to show this, just as with the Augusti Duo, you want to show this in your diplomatic, but not in your interpretive edition. Your interpretive edition will have the word etus encompassed by round brackets, because this is an expanded abbreviation of a whole word. And in the diplomatic text, you will see this sign, which will not show at all in your editorial text or in your interpretive edition. Yes, if you ignore the symbols that you are used, you can simply use the expand. But probably you would also want to include the original sign, if possible, technically, for which case you will also want to add the abbre and daughter element in it. But if you don't want to use this at all, you simply use the expand and then X. And you have only the interpretive edition etus in square bracket. In the diplomatic edition, you have nothing to display. Maybe this will be the case, and you would want to use this if you have some symbols which will be technically very hard to display on the screen, and you don't want to display them in your diplomatic text. It is impossible. There are no Unicode symbols that would display them. But for this purpose, then again, you can link images, and you can give a very thorough commentary on the hand that has written and its paleographic peculiarities. This is it with the expansion of the abbreviations. Do you have any questions until now? I'm asking one by one as we go through all this. If not, let us see what is next. Probably what is really important to do now is to see how to render into encoding the words themselves, as well as the personal and the geographical names. And you also want to refer these words probably to something else, which is something upon which we will work at more length on Wednesday, I believe, Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday before noon. But I will give you a short preview about this now. So, except for the editorial sigla in your text and all the different features of the text that you want to indicate, spaces intentionally left, other things, you will also want to encode words. And we would want to encode also personal names. And these are two complementary tasks. There are common words, and there are the so-called named entities, which are all the proper names, all the geographical names, and things like that, that you will not encode as common words. So you can tag simple words in a text. And you not only can, but it is very advisable that you do so in order to separate and individuate and identify certain strings as words. In your printed editions and in your editions of the text, the output editions in the electronic form, white spaces do this job, but white spaces are not enough for the process which is called tokenization, which means to indicate that a certain string of characters is a word, is a separate token, as they say. For this purpose, you use the W tag, which stands for word. So each and every word in your document you want to encompass between start word and end word tag. You might want to also indicate that this particular word form is an instance, fundere iura sua, for example, this is an instance of the word used. So besides tokenization, what you also want to do is to lemmatize words. So you give the proper lemma to the word. This also holds true for some incorrect, substandard writing, etc., etc. If you want to indicate that something which was very badly written actually refers to this and this word, you lemmatize this. Or you can also do a reference, which is done with remalef, to an external authority for the forms of the respective word. In our case, the morphological parser of Perseus. So you can not only lemmatize a word, but you can also reference this lemma to a source existing somewhere on the internet. Most probably what will come in handy if you want to do such a thing is Perseus lemmatizer. And then if you have lemmatized your words, they can be then indexed in all your documents, and they can produce word indices to your corpus, which is really handy. And yeah, the thing which is most handy with all the features that are automatically indexed from XML content is that whenever you put some new file in your database with some new words, and you index this file to become a part of your database, all the things that you have lemmatized appear automatically in the word index, and you don't need to go and enter everything as a new information by hand. As you see here in this word list, there's even the useful feature that words which are partly or wholly in a supplied part of the document, they appear in the word index in square brackets, which indicates that, for example, of the word udex, we have 3 occurrences, but one of these occurrences, it is seen from the index already. One of these occurrences is from a restored part of the text, from a lacunae. So from a lacuna, so you might want to bear this in mind if you do some kind of statistics for your corpus or something like that. And then you can visualize things contextually, which is something that is done in the many of the digital epigraphic collections. What about personal names? If you don't have common words, but you have things which are personal names, you don't want to tag them with the word tag. You want to tag them with the first name tag. And also bear in mind that here we have one, this holds especially true for Greek patronyms. Agielos, son of Menestheus, is one personal name with a patronym. And we want to encode both the name and the patronym as one person name. And then, if you wish, you can encode as name simply, not person name, the different elements of this name. So Agelaou is the proper name and Menesteos is the patronym in genitive. And if you also want to, you can also reference these personal names to an internal or external list. And we will show you on Wednesday how to do this properly. This is just for the sake of example. If you want to, by the way, if you want to indicate, I don't know if this is in this presentation, I think not, but if you want to also mark up Menesteus as another personal name in its own right, beside being a part of the name Agelaou Menesteus as a patronym, you can do this by encoding this as a person name within a person name. Epidoc allows that. So you want to have this. You can also make an authority list of all the names that you have across your project, and we will speak more about this in the days to come. But you can refer your occurrences of personal names in your documents to a list of personal names, a separate list of personal names, which holds all the personal names in every document in your project, and you can refer to them. You can also, in this list, you can indicate different things if you find this information suitable. Date of birth, date of death, period of fluoride, another event significant which is relevant to this person, and etc., etc. The same thing holds true for place names. Mutatis mutandis, the procedure is the same as with person names, but you use the place name tag. You can reference a place name, and you can also give, which is very useful, and we will show you how to do this in the days to come. You can give an external reference for all the ancient place names in an authority list of place names, georeferenced place names, which is called a gazetteer, and we have a fine gazetteer for ancient place names, which is called Pleiades. So, if we have to wrap this up, the common words you tag with the word, and you can lemmatize them, and you can refer your lemmatization to an external morphological parser or something like that. You can, by the way of lemmatization, you can regularize your word forms. So even if something is very badly and incorrectly and substandardly written, you can still refer to a particular Latin or Greek word. So this is a form of regularization. And you can also tag personal names and place name with the person name or the place name tag. And you can also normalize and refer to an internal or an external authority when you tag these things. So this is another presentation of some basic features that you should have in the encoding of your text. And a few words now about the different symbols, which is a part of a newer version of the abbreviation presentation. And there is not much to say about this, but I will just . show you the respective tags. Oh, sorry, probably you don't see my screen. So you have the G element for symbol, and you can have type leaf, or type scroll, or type floret, or type cross. And in the visualization, you can have several variants of visualization. You can have leaves in leaf, or cross, or dot in double round brackets, or in some visualization scenarios, you can have a stylized leaf which exists as a Unicode character, which visualizes the leaf or the cross. You can also use this for meaning-bearing marks, such as indications of money or other measurements. The marks which are indicating, which indicate money or other measurements are actually a sui generis abbreviations. So you treat them like abbreviations, only that in the expand abobura part, in that element, which is the element which is shown in the diplomatic version of the text, but omitted in the editorial or interpretive rendition of the text. Here in this AMA tag, you simply put the empty element for a symbol. And you get the symbol for denarius if you have it in your diplomatic text, but you have nothing than the expansion of abbreviation, the word denaria written in Greek in square brackets. And the diplomatic text shows the respective symbol. And this is the most relevant part of this presentation on symbol that I want to show you. I don't want to complicate things further. There are some hero renderings, but I don't think they work properly in all the embedded visualizations. So I think will not treat them at length here. As for the monograms, there are some Epidoc solutions for monograms also, but they also don't work very well. So I find it redundant at this point to show you anything about monograms. And chances are that at least at this stage you will rarely see them. And as I told you before, in the end of the day, you will also have the commentary to the inscription, and you also have the visual materials such as photos, facsimiles, etc., etc. So in case you find it technically difficult to represent a monogram or some symbol that has weird Unicode rendering or no Unicode rendering at all, you can just describe it with the running text accompanied with a photograph. So, is there something else that you want to ask or you want to add? Or we should finish with our morning session already. And then it will be a hands-on exercise with everything that we presented to you this morning. In the 2 or 3 minutes that remain, is there something else that you would like to ask? If not, thank you and see you at 2 o'clock Belgrade Skopje time, and 3 o'clock Sofia time. Okay, I will just, yes, stay here. I will simply mute myself and stop my.
Okay, I will unmute now. Thank you very much, Dimitar and Alina. I hope that my sound is on. Is it on? Yeah, so I have just left a message in chat box. So if some of you did not fill in the form about the consent for recording, some of those who joined the meeting later, please do fill in. And there are some information about if you want to tweet about the workshop, please use our hashtag that is in the chat box. And below you'll see the meeting and the passcode for the afternoon session. And all the updates will go through the document where the links are. So I guess this concludes our morning session. And if someone has some other questions. No. All right, so we can conclude and finish this session, and we'll reconvene at 2 o'clock later on. All right. So.